Hey, the way that this is the quickest part 2 that I have ever given to this damn channel, like in the history of life of HoodAstroQ. I always say I'm gonna do a part 2, never do it. That's why I said I'm gonna stop announcing it and just pop out on y'all asses. Because sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas, or whatever Kendrick Lamar has said. But anywho, picking up with where we left off, I wanted to just kind of extrapolate a little bit more on certain aspects within Ice Spice's natal chart, and even synastry-wise between the two girls, that I feel would hold a lot of weight in explaining their dynamic, okay? So, starting with Moon in Scorpio in opposition to Saturn. Both women have Moon in Scorpio, okay? Differing degrees. However, Ice Spice has this opposition natally, and then synastry-wise, Ice Spice's Saturn is opposing Cleo's Moon. So it's kind of like a double-up effect. And as I stated in the first video, a lot of this has to do with Ice Spice denying Cleo just basic shit, her basic necessities, including food, quite literally, with Saturn and Taurus. That's like taking the food out of somebody's mouth just because you feel away. Okay, hence the Moon in Scorpio. And all of it may not have even stemmed from jealousy necessarily as much as it could have just her feeling slighted. You know, when Scorpio moons feel slighted, they brood and they brood. And this is also why I mentioned in the previous video, the brooding and a lot of the issues that these women may have had, I feel like could have been a long time coming. Okay. And then eventually it just ignited. You know what I'm saying? And for Cleo, a lot of it, when we talk about the straw that broke the camel's back, is the lack of money. Like the lack of money, the treatment on the road. But once again, when we examine that Moon and Scorpio opposing Saturn and Taurus, even within Ice Spice's chart, this could signify her feeling like the women in her life, including Cleo, are indebted to her. Okay? That Moon and Scorpio could deal with being indebted. One being indebted to their family, but you can also flip that on its head. So her feeling like even her mom, right? Because she said my mom is ungrateful, or she called Nikki ungrateful like her mom and whatever. Okay, so we know she treats her mom like shit. Okay, and to be fair, with the Moon in opposition to Saturn and Taurus, like I said, her and her mom may not have been that close. Her mom could have been kind of evil to her too, or at just the very, very least, not loving. Ice Spice does not have a chart that supports her being a warm, tender, generous, loving person. As a matter of fact, with this opposition to Saturn from her moon and even her moon squaring Uranus, I could make an argument that she has a sociopathic kind of personality type, right? Where somebody could be kind of distant. And it's just really hard to connect personally with people. Even when we talk about cause and effect and the way that your actions affect other people. She has Aquarius on the South Node. You know, Aquarius is known for its coldness as well. So her being a Capricorn sun with Moon in opposition to Saturn, squaring Uranus, Aquarius South Node, like this gives like, I don't give a fuck kind of like all day long. It's someone who is just, once again, kind of like detached or removed from, you know, that kind of personable factor. Aquarius also rules bullying. So it's worth mentioning that with her South Node in Aquarius, not only is this going to create a lot of karmic debt surrounding friends, situations where, and I've seen it play in both directions, right? Where someone with Leo on the North Node could outgrow their friends. They could receive a lot of hate and jealousy from other people as a result of that, you know, but also to the extent in which these are people who can kind of, once again, their egos get too big for their britches. You know, maybe they're the ones who are leaving their friends out in the cold. Aquarius is just disloyal in nature. So when you take that in tandem with her moon squaring Aquarius, right, it's the makings of someone who just does not have it in them to be a good friend. And then speaking of friends, Ice Spice also has Mars in Aquarius, which is largely responsible. And I say this often when we talk about like celebrities and you look in the charts of people who may not necessarily have talent, but these are people who could still be extremely successful, but usually it's based on who they are around. Mars in Aquarius is, I mean, quintessential for that. You know, I see that so much. Another really good example of this would be Carisha. Bitch ain't got talent in her pinky toe. You see what I'm saying? But is always in the right place at the right time around the right people. And I think her Mars in Aquarius is a huge contributing factor to that. And I forgot the way that it's aspected, but you know, especially if it's aspected well. Now for Ice Spice, she has her Mars squaring her Venus in Sag, which, I mean, still, she could still benefit, and I've definitely still seen ways in which she's benefited from that Mars in Aquarius, but this Venus square Mars for her could definitely indicate her being a bully in her friendships, like specifically bullying her friends. Okay. You know, with Venus in Sagittarius, a lot of these people end up befriending people who are like nothing like them, which is kind of interesting because there's a case to be made that the bitch is prejudiced. And to be frank, another manifestation of lower polarity Capricorn is prejudice. Okay. You know, it's the opposite sign of Cancer, which could deal with racism and tribalism. So, you know, Cancer and Capricorn both operate on that paradigm or that axis of, like, you know, discrimination and shit. So, which, I mean, it's like interesting, but as we all know, just realistically, you don't have to like not be in proximity to the people like that you call yourself not liking. You know what I mean? So like, you could be racist and date people that are outside of your race. You can have friends that are outside of your race and not too much particularly care about them or their kind. With Venus and Sag, she may be friends. And I think Cleo mentioned something to the effect of, she said that she was friends with Nigerians. Now, the true gag in the tea is the bitch said she told us she was half Nigerian, y'all. I don't know what the full story is behind that, but the lie detector has since determined that was a lie. So once again, you know, with this Venus and Sag, she's being around all these different types of people. She's feeling herself. Now, with this Venus squaring her Mars in Aquarius, this could deal with her liking, you know, their style, you know, getting put on to certain stuff from other people, whether it be fashion, hence Venus, you know, whatever, insert whatever, really, art, music, and then taking that shit for her own, because when Mars is in Aquarius, your identity is like non-fixed. Ironically, because Aquarius is a fixed sign, but when Mars is in Aquarius, a lot of times it's hard to have a true understanding of who you really are. And the fact that it's squaring her Venus like that is a huge indicator that she borrows that shit from her friends, bro, or the people around her. You know, and you know, really just taking that shit. You know, taking it, or she could be friendly and silly. You know, Venus and Sag, she loves to joke, right? Silly and warm and cheerful kind of disposition up front, but as you get to know her, you know, that square to Mars and Aquarius could cause her to act weird. You know, where she could just kind of switch up on a motherfucker, or kind of even test you, which is technically kind of Capricorn in nature, testing, the concept of testing someone. But when we talk about Mars and Aquarius squaring Venus, it's more so like her playing experiments and games, like on her friends. So she'll be the type of bitch. And I done been around girls like this, you know, in my youth, where it's like, you could tell they're trying to get close to you, but they're gauging like how they're going to treat you, you know, if that makes sense. So these are the type of bitches you got to put them in a place off rip, off the jumper, bitch. You got me fucked up. Like, you know, whatever it is that they do. Nah, bitch. See, this is where you had me fucked up at. Let me go ahead and get you right on together. Let's go ahead and figure some shit out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, because otherwise they're gonna run you over, and now you friends with a girl who hates you. But like, bully, let's be real, we grown as hell. But as a rule of thumb, I tend to recommend that women stay clear of other women with Venus square Mars. Not that they're terrible people in and of themselves. I think Ice Spice is a terrible person, but just in general, right? If you're listening to this and you have Venus square Mars, doesn't necessarily mean you're a horrible person based off of that alone. But what I will say is, women with Venus square Mars do have a track record of not being the best friends. You know, they are typically more selfish, you know, self-serving in the way that they move. or more inclined to compete with other women. They couldn't even be haters, or just always have a problem, always have some shit going on. Like, I wouldn't chance it. And please spare me, like, in the comments. I don't want to hear nobody with Venus square Mars crying. Which, I mean, actually, not take that back. Go ahead and sound off in the comments so you can prove my point. But sound off in the comments and complain about what I just said, you know, so you can prove my point. Y'all bitches are problematic as fuck. So yeah, you know, pro tip. Another really good example of this Venus square Mars, where I feel like it, you know, it just manifested as someone that is almost impossible to be a good friend to, will be Jocelyn Hernandez. I will not be elaborating any further. I rest my case. And Jocelyn has her Mars in Aquarius too. That theme of like bullying women and berating people, and, you know, just, it's weird. It's weird as fuck. It's a very cliquey aspect. And it's just strange. And then finally, revisiting that Sun-Saturn conjunction between Ice Spice and Cleo. Okay, so Ice Spice's Saturn in Taurus is forming a conjunction to Cleo's Sun, once again reinforcing that theme of like her punishing Cleo, her not really thinking that highly of her. And because Taurus can be extremely superficial, you know, this could even suggest, this conjunction could suggest that really, you know, a lot of like their friendship was just really, once again, a combination of just like a business deal on Ice Spice's end, but just like her having Cleo around for optics. Because, like I said, even superficially, because Cleo is a cute girl, you know, superficially it looks good, or, you know, trying to maintain, you know, a certain kind of look when it comes to things, but she don't really give a fuck about that girl. And if I was advising Cleo personally before she even went on tour, I would have told her, girl, between this Moon Saturn opposition that's doubling up and then her Saturn on your Sun, I can guarantee you she's not going to pay you what you're worth. She's not going to pay you. She's going to pay you with your worth. She doesn't really think that highly of you. And she's, you know, like, this could even deal with someone who, you know, wants to make another person suffer. That's so funny, because I think Cleo said those words exactly. She said she wanted to see me suffer. That's that Saturn Sun conjunction, even her Saturn in opposition to Cleo's Moon. So, you know, that's Ice Spice quite literally wanting her to suffer. And that theme of suffering and wanting somebody to suffer comes from the archetype of Capricorn that loves to punish. Capricorn deals with discipline, all things disciplinarian. And so a lot of Capricorns, I find, or people with harsh contacts to Saturn, like the Sun, the Moon kind of thing, they do like to, you know, punish other people or do things to kind of get back at other people when they feel wronged. And then, of course, Scorpio is all about vindictiveness too. So you see where it's just, it's a combination of things happening here that make me very comfortable when I say I don't think Ice Spice is a good person. I don't think she's a good person at all. Not to mention, she has that Scorpio Moon in her third house, which can point to, like, even when it comes to like her eyes. You know how people say like the eyes are the window to the soul. Look at this bitch eyes, bro. Like, she could be completely dead in the eyes. Completely dead behind the eyes, or just kind of have a way where her, like, you know, where a lot of those darker energies can kind of present themselves, like when you're looking at her. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I'm gonna go ahead and close this second part on out. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, feel free to leave comments. Do any of these aspects resonate with you personally? Placements, you know, what are your thoughts on them? And I will catch y'all in the next video. Love you. Bye.